What is happening, guys? Welcome back to Redbeard's Garage. We got a pretty exciting new engine from Duromax. This is their 212cc dual fuel engine. So if you bought one of their generators, whether it's small or large, it's going to have a dual fuel engine on it. And basically all it is, the difference between these engines is the carburetor setup. You can use liquid propane or you can use gasoline. There's a lot of good benefits to propane.
I live in the real world where men sell propane and propane accessories.
And there's a lot of good benefits to gasoline. We'll go over that once we get it unboxed. But we're going to be starting this engine up and running it today, and we're going to be building a mini bike for this engine very soon. I'm pretty pumped about this. We've always wanted to run a propane engine. You can buy the carbs for the engines, but they're kind of janky and stuff. The aftermarket ones are super cheap made. So I'm really excited. We're going to do a full build on this engine and only run it on propane. I bought this little adapter. You can get this on Amazon for $9. Links for everything, this engine and everything is linked down below. But this adapter allows you to hook up a small tank, one of these like Coleman style tanks. This is a different brand, but allows you to hook this up to it instead of a large tank. So our mini bike's going to have dual tanks like this where the gas tank would be. I think it's going to be pretty sick. So we're gonna get this thing unboxed, and we're gonna throw some Amsoil break-in oil into it. This is my favorite oil to use. It's high zinc and it helps these engines break in. And then once the break-in cycle's over, we can use their small engine oil to keep this thing running precise. So let's get this thing unboxed and see what it's all about. So we got everything unboxed. It's a pretty standard unboxing. The only thing really different is the regulator for the propane. This is an electric start model. They do have a 439cc that we're going to be unboxing next, and which is basically the big brother to this setup. Comes with your hot and ground that you're going to run from the starter and the block of the engine to the battery. Comes with a spark plug tool, as well as a funnel and a owner's manual. And then the biggest difference is the carburetor and this regulator. So if you buy the carburetors that you can slap on a 212 or a 420 or whatever that has propane capabilities, this whole unit is kind of built onto the carburetor, and it's bulky, big. It don't like to fit on mini bike chassis. That's why this one's pretty sweet, because this regulator will go to your propane tank, and this hose runs down onto the barb on the carburetor shown on screen. So you just basically slide this barb on, tighten it up, and bam, you have propane connection. So this is made to screw onto a 20-pound or 100-pound propane bottle. But again, we bought this adapter that we can thread on here, and we can hook it up to the small Coleman style camping bottles, or even the little bit longer, skinnier bottles shown on screen. You can use those as well. It's going to be pretty sweet having like a dual or triple setup on this engine. So before we start it, we're going to talk about the benefits to propane and the downsides to propane, and compare it towards gasoline and see what you guys think you would like to run from the two. Real quick interruption, I forgot to tell the price point of the engine. This is a $349.99 engine, so $350. That gives you everything out of the box to be able to run propane on your log splitter, your pressure washer, anything your heart desires. So just wanted to add that in there. We never told the price point through this entire video. So the benefits, gasoline versus propane. Now this is my own opinion. You can take it with a grain of salt. So do your own research and decide what is a better option for you, and if you think it's safe to use either or on your application. The downside to propane versus gasoline, we'll talk about the bad about propane. There's only two real benefits that gasoline has over propane, and one of them is the availability to get gasoline anywhere. You know, almost every mile down the interstate you're going to find a gas station. Not that you'd be commuting to work with a 212 in a Prius or something, but if you was to run out of propane, it'd be a lot easier to find gasoline over propane. But that's the beauty of this engine. You can have a tank full of gas and a tank full of propane. When you run out of one, you just switch over to the other. And that is what is sick about this setup. The other downside is you have more range out of a gallon of gasoline versus propane. If you notice, every generator that is dual fuel will say you get, let's say 14 hours on a gallon of gas, and you get 11 hours on a 20-pound tank of propane. So it does have per gallon less energy in propane versus gasoline. So that's the only two downsides. But there's way more benefits to propane over gasoline. So the biggest thing now, gasoline is garbage quality. I'm in the small engine world, of course, And all of our maintenance, 90% of it, is because gasoline is so poor quality now. I believe they're even putting ethanol in the 100% gas and just lying to us. I really want to buy some and test it, but the fact of the matter is if we let a gas tank sit outside for 1 month on a mini bike or whatever, it already starts to smell like varnish. Like it's garbage quality. And that's our biggest maintenance problem around here. So the best thing about propane, it has a 30-year shelf life. You don't get dirty carburetors from propane where your carburetor can gum up, you're pulling carbs off and clean them. You're not gonna have any of that with propane. I know people are gonna think it's very dangerous to have this on a mini bike or a go-kart, and that's not what Duromax is telling you to do. But in our application, I'm gonna run this because I believe this is not any more dangerous than this being full of gas. You know, you still have a metal tank full of explosive fluids. So this is no different, in my opinion, than gas. And we'll just build a nice protective cage around it. So if we was to wreck our mini bike or go-kart, this isn't going to get damaged. So that's one biggest benefit, is the fact that it's so clean and it's clean burning. So propane is way better for the environment than gasoline because we care about it a lot here. We're going to fully build this engine out. We're going to do a rod, cam, flywheel. Unfortunately, when we do the flywheel, we'll lose the electric start capabilities because they haven't brought a billet flywheel on the market that uses electric start. We're going to do a billet side cover, some head work, but we're only going to run it on propane. The biggest factor about propane to me is it's 104 octane or better, which means you have a bottle of race fuel right here that you can go buy at Walmart. If you've ever bought 110 octane race fuel, the stuff around here is around $10 a gallon. My supercharged buggy takes it, and it sucks when I have to buy that. But propane is already super high octane, clean burning. It's just awesome. This is going to be a sick build and have a ton of power. And the fact that if we need to, we can run race gas in this once it's built out, because we're going to do a high compression build. And that's the biggest thing with octane. You can run a higher compression the higher the octane is. So that's the only deal with octane, by the way. The higher the compression, the more octane you need in your gasoline. All we do with this is there's a barb, like I shown on screen for the carburetor. We put this on it, tighten up the hose clamp, and we got to purge this. We got to burp it to make sure all the air is out of it, and then we can start this thing up on the table and hear it run. So we have our adapter here. Make sure to get that seated all the way because we don't want any propane leaks. And now we can run our little Coleman style bottle. We got this at Home Depot, so it's not actually Coleman brand. There's always nerve-wracking using a new fuel. There's the burp.
Is everything gonna explode?
I couldn't tell you.
Maybe we should open the garage door.
I'm assuming that let's look at the owner's manual. You know, this is the first propane engine I've used. So I'm wondering, I would assume the gas would stay off because that's keeping the gasoline from filling the bowl, because the propane, from what I can tell, is not filling the bowl. It's, you know, going out into the throat of the carburetor. So let me do a little research. The general safety precautions, look at that. Really nice owner's manual. It's like a book. So it's nice that they gave you that. While I'm looking this up, this is a non-hemi style engine, which in my opinion is the better of the engines. Check oil, check fuel level. Okay, so that's gasoline, start and continue. You shut it off, connect hose, move choke lever to on, which we already have it, right? Now it's on. Adjust throttle lever. That's one thing out of the box, all these engines, the throttle is really tight because it's meant to set it and forget it. So be aware of that before you start it, because if you got that puppy pull it all the way, she's going to go full bore. It says turn choke on, and then prime for a minute, then turn it off. Let's see what happens. Lord be with us.
got no gas in it.
That's a lot.
It's a lot of noise coming from this table. All right, we got it sitting on the floor. Probably need to So basically, when you're going to start it on propane, what you're doing is shutting the choke or opening the choke. And the choke is a butterfly that's kind of blocking down the main throat of the carburetor. So when you purge the propane, it's pre-purging the intake runner with fuel so you can start it. So what you do is turn the choke on, purge it for a second or two, turn the choke off, then start it. The reason it wouldn't start right off the bat, I had this loosened and all the way down was basically shutting the carb off too much. So you're gonna wanna go, you're probably gonna have to idle propane up on a mini bike or something just a little bit higher. Yeah, we'll get it back on the table and do a basic final thoughts about it. And then on the next episode, we'll be putting this on a mini bike, so stay tuned for that. So our final thoughts on the Duromax 212cc dual fuel engine is I'm pretty pumped about it. I'm even more excited about the 439cc that we're unboxing next. This is, like I said, a non-hemi setup. We have rods, flywheels, and everything coming from Go Power Sports, so we can find out what performance parts fits this, as well as Duromax's 208cc engine. So it's gonna be an awesome build. If you want to see anything in particular done to this engine, let us know. I want to build an off-road mini bike for camping and stuff that runs off gasoline and propane. Now this would be the tank you would normally want to run on this setup because you're gonna get a ton of run time. I'm thinking we'll only get out of a 1 pound tank like the one we tested today. We're not going to get much usage, like 30 minutes of usage out of this. So I'm going to come up with something where we can get a little bit more fuel but not have to carry one of these around on a mini bike. Go-kart would be a better setup. But when we was talking about how clean it runs, that's also going to keep your valves, your piston, all that stuff spotless because there's not a lot of carbon buildup with propane. So that's going to also keep oil changes down because these engines do have a little blow-by just like any gasoline or compression engine. It's going to keep your oil cleaner because the propane is so clean. So a lot of perks to this setup and I can't wait to use it. So make sure to check out the links in the video description for this and a bunch of parts that'll fit it. Your standard CVTs and everything is going to fit this thing. And let us know what you want to see done to this engine. We'll be doing a full build out on it very soon, so stay tuned. Thank you guys for supporting us and watching the videos. Thank you Duromax for sending this engine out for us to do some testing, and we're super pumped about it. We love you guys and we thank you for watching, and God bless.